Hi. To add to what Rasika said, we also look at the quality, the finish, and a lot of other factors which are so important when the clothes come to the store, and affordability, which sometimes most designers go off track on. So fashion shows, of course, gives us a statement as to what your creative mind is thinking. But what you showcase at the exhibit area is extremely important for the clothes to actually sell off the shelves. So it's a combination which we look for.
And while we're talking about costing, I wanted to address that because a lot of young designers out here, and from both the buyers and Masaba and Priyadarshini, I'd like to ask, you know, when you're a young designer, is costing the main factor, and is that where the young designer goes wrong? And what did you find about your costing when you first started?
Well, I first started, I decided that the USP of my brand should, one, be that it should be noticeable from a mile. The other was the pricing. The thing is, you can't really fool an Indian customer. They know what they're paying for. So you can't be overpriced. And for example, in our country, for example, we have a lot of people who do, you know, heavy bridal saris. So when you do an ikat and silk sari, which actually costs you the same to make, you can't really charge them the same amount because, you know, they don't pay for it. So you have to be really smart with your pricing. Not overpriced, not underpriced, but just give the consumer what he would want to pay. So you have to know the pulse of the customer and then do your pricing.
You know, I think the most important part about pricing is your sourcing. You can't go to the retail market, which is what a lot of young designers do. It's important to find the right people who will sell you without the middleman. That really is where your pricing really comes down. Also, as Masaba said correctly, an understanding of what the other designers are selling at, and that would really help you peg yourself and figure out which, which level you want to stay at. I mean, even after 17 years of being in the business, my average selling price is between 7 to 10,000 rupees. So, you know, you need to consciously understand what the customer is willing to pay.
I think I agree with both of them. Maybe that's why they are so successful already. But yeah, you need to really pay attention to how your costing is working for yourself and also for the retailer and also for the client. To sum up what they said, I think.
Need to they've already said.
While we're on pricing, there's something I wanted to discuss, which is a topic that I think is very sensitive in fashion, but that is consignment. I have a lot of young designers, they come up to me and they say, well, we can't afford to do consignment because we're young right now and the stores aren't willing to take a risk on a name unless it's consignment. And I see it, and I'm asking both of you to correct me if I'm wrong, as a chicken and egg situation. Unfortunately, if you don't do consignment, you're not going to get in. So you need to have that in mind when you start your label and have all of that planned in your business plan. What do you feel about consignment buying and how it works?
I will tell you my personal experience. When I started in 2008, the first 2-3 seasons, irrespective of whether you are an established designer or a newbie, we were buying outright. Having said that, we realized further down the line that though we may be very confident about your product, not necessarily the end client will react to it. And there are inherent vagaries, let's say, of the nature of what we do. And being in a multi-designer store, obviously the racks are competing with each other. So from the retailer's point of view, whoever gives them, say, better margins, markdowns, markups, it works for the retailer, and that much more leverage you may get eventually from them when you decide to display your racks with that particular store. So you definitely need to, I would think nobody would give you an outright opportunity right away as you get into the market. but it could just be your store's confidence in you. So I would say maybe a 20-30% buyout in value, maybe a good enough indication of the confidence that the retailer might put in you. You know, I mean, it's the retailer to retailer sense. I can't generalize because each store has their policy. But having said that, I don't think that I treat an outright rack and a consignment rack differently at my store. I treat them both as stock that has to be sold, and that is why it is there. So you need to realize that it doesn't mean that when we ask you for a consignment, we are trying to just fill up rack space. No, we need to sell it, and we are going to take the effort on it. You know, so that's our bit of the push that we can give you, being in the industry, giving you that leverage as a new person coming in. You know.
I think, yeah, I would add to that unfortunately the number of stores available are very less compared to the number of designers that are there in the country. So you all outnumber us to a very large extent. But the effort that everybody goes through to discuss consignment outright, it's fair, it's a commercial transaction which you need to know. But at the end of the day, when the stock comes on the shop floor, it only has a price tag and your name. It doesn't say whether it's consignment or outright. So if the customer is going to pick it up, he's going to pick it up because he's liked that product. So you should rather focus on your product, whether it is workable at my store or her store, and then think about the commercial terms. Because if your product is good, it's come to me once on consignment, we've done a good sale out of it, we are going to come back to you, and that's the time you can negotiate with us. This time around, you need to buy 30%. You need to buy 40%. So if your product is well made, well priced, with a good finish, and comes to the right shop, you already won your battle. Because the consumer is going to buy it whether it's consignment or outright. She doesn't know what she's buying, whether it's a consignment product or an outright product.
So am I right in thinking that consignment is just part of the industry and every young designer has to go through that? I mean, did you go through it when you started 17 years ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. But yes, you know, I think I spent at least 5 to 7 years of doing consignment, after which things started changing. You kind of try and pull your punches and, you know, you negotiate, etc. But having said that, even today, I believe not only me, but a lot of other designers who have spent as many years in the industry, much as we sell most of our product, we do have events and previews through the year where we work on consignment. So I think somewhere you're really talking about doing at least 25 to 30% of your product on consignment on an annual turnover. And you know, you owe it to your stores. That's a relationship thing.
Finally, not finally, sorry. One of the other questions I wanted to ask was about online. I think all of us are all really excited about what's happening with social media and you know, the online stores that are coming up. And how do you feel that works for a young designer? Should they look at online, or should they first be in a proper real estated store?
I think online is much more for the established designers, because you can't expect somebody in Akola, Amravati to go online and buy a designer whom he doesn't know. So it would be a right medium for established designers who've got their PR right, who's known across the country, because online sales are happening at locations where offline sales are, stores are not available. Maximum sales are happening in areas where good fashion stores are not available. So in those areas, the Gen X category or the emerging category find it very tough to sell their product online, because the consumer wouldn't know who he or she is.
Masaba, do you have a counterpoint of view? I believe you're one of the highest selling designers on an online portal as we speak.
Again, I mean, it's got, you know, you can have two conversations about it actually. As we were talking, you need to touch and feel the outfit. So I don't know if online works for most people. But then again, I think in terms of, for newer designers, if you have the visibility already and you know that people want your product and you can't sort of meet the demand that there is for your ensembles, I think it makes sense to be online, because firstly, it's much cheaper than opening, you know, a standalone physical store. And you're reaching out to I don't know how many people who are online shopping every day, and I speak, you know, with reference to Purnia's pop-up shop to begin with. I think what she's done is that you have people buying online internationally, as well as, you know, a Nagpur or a Sholapur, wherever. You know, you have girls who can't, you know, who find it, I think, sort of very otherworldly to be online and buying off something, you know, from the net. It's actually a challenge, if you ask me. And again, I speak also, I'm retailing with Pia Ka Ghar, which is a US-based online portal, and it's excellent because I can't, I mean, imagine opening a store or having someone deal with me over there, and it's all there for them online, just to click and buy.
But you think the fact that you are